Today on the LA Food Podcast, Meteora's website describes itself as a one-star Michelin restaurant that takes diners on a gastronomic journey through the bounty of nature. What the hell does that mean? Well, Father Saul and I ventured to Melrose to find out, inspired by our recent visit to Chef Jordan Kahn's other restaurant, Vespertine. While dining at Vespertine, we were told in no uncertain terms that Chef Kahn is actively pushing to get Meteora a second star, which you might say spiked our interest in sussing out what exactly is happening at this quixotic urban jungle of a restaurant. You might recall that Saul and I adored our meal at Vespertine, so Meteora had a tough act to follow. Did it live up to expectations? Is it worth the multiple $100s you're going to fork over if you go? And most importantly, do we think it's on track to earn its coveted second Michelin star? Listen to find out. Also on this episode, it's part 4 of our Opening Cafe Esca series with Reilly and Luke Reyes. As a reminder, this is our series where Luke and Reilly bring us along on their journey to open a swanky new coastal Italian restaurant in the Arts District. Today's conversation is all about how you ideate a food and beverage menu, and honestly, it's a fascinating conversation on restaurant operations, whether you've been following the series to date or not. In case you do want to catch up on the other parts of the series, of course, we'll link them in the show notes. But either way, you're in for a treat, and we're all in for a treat when Cafe Esca finally opens its doors this summer. And how could I forget? We've got an express round of Chef's Kiss Big Miss for you today, featuring those viral olive oil squeeze bottles, a steamy new chef show coming to Apple TV, and perhaps the most annoying pizza maker to ever walk the planet. As always, please consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm your host, Lucas Servodio, and without further ado, let's chow down. The LA Food Podcast is presented by The Lonely Oyster. Unwind at The Lonely Oyster's Echo Park Night Watch. Did you know that every night is industry night at The Lonely Oyster, dear listener? Stroll in after 10 p.m. nightly for a one-of-a-kind experience designed for the night owls and hospitality pros. Indulge in $12 handshake cocktails, expertly crafted liquid chef concoctions, delicious late-night hot bites, and Chef's Choice dozen oysters. More than just a place to unwind, The Lonely Oyster warmly welcomes industry professionals, providing a space where like-minded individuals can connect, relax, and enjoy the camaraderie that comes with the late-night scene. Whether you're looking to kick back after a long shift or simply enjoy the vibrant atmosphere, late night at The Lonely Oyster is the perfect rendezvous for those who appreciate good company and great food and drinks. Don't miss this nightly affair and let the good times roll at The Lonely Oyster. Welcoming back to the LA Food Podcast, perhaps the most cursed sports fan in the history of the world. Father Saul, when was the last time you had any joy from a sports fan perspective?
Wow, that's actually a really good question. It's been a really long time. Actually, I know exactly when. It was when the Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl in, I believe, 2009. Yeah.
2009? It was that recent?
I mean, yeah. It's 16 years ago.
Yeah.
I've had nothing since.
Since basically high school.
Since high school, yeah. I was like senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Junior year of high school. Yeah. And I wore like my jersey to school for a week. It was the best. Also, my team had won 2 like in the aughts. I was I was on top of the world.
You're a king. Well,
yeah.
Iverson made it to the finals.
Iverson made it to the finals. We had 2 Steelers championships, which is like a lot. 2 Super Bowls in like a 3 or 4 year period, 5 year period is like a lot.
Yeah.
Right. You really feel like you're winning everything, and then it's just been complete pain, not just loss, pain. Like losing in the most historically embarrassing and shocking fashions.
Totally.
By Sixers and Steelers.
Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yep. Yeah. Game 7 collapses against the Celtics. The Kawhi shot in Toronto.
Yeah.
Knocking us out. It's just like painful ways.
We watched that one together, I think, in Seattle, actually.
No, you weren't there. You weren't there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember because you Venmo'd me money for ice cream and beer afterwards. I remember I was watching by myself, saw the shot go in, by myself on my couch, and just dropped my phone on the ground. just to no one. I was like, that was my actual human reaction. I was like staring.
The reason I bring this up is because I've sensed recently, since the Sixers are not in the playoffs, that you've been sympathizing with the Los Angeles Clippers. And They have, the moment pretty much I sensed you sympathizing with them,
You knew it was going to go bad?
they have collapsed and are on the verge of elimination.
Look, I happily support. They were my, I suppose, adopted, adopted team for the playoffs while the Sixers are not there. And I was feeling really good about them, too. They looked sharp. I mean, this LA Food Podcast, go into a dome, amazing food, amazing experience. A great way to go watch basketball, and the team is like a likable team.
It is,
right? Like, because they're like, you got Kawhi coming back, like the return from injury, and he's kind of low key the best player of his generation when he's healthy. They're scrappy, they're well coached, and it seems to be going wrong.
Yes,
now.
yeah, it does, and I blame you for it.
That's fair. I mean, look, the Clippers have their own history, unfortunately, of kind of crazy and embarrassing collapses. Losing on a last-second alley-oop. That only happens when Saul's rooting for your team.
That's true. That was the moment it switched, man.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. Well, hey, before we dive into what we're supposed to talk about today, I did want to tease that there is a massive announcement coming next week. Without spoiling it for our listeners, Saul, can you give them a hint as to what's coming?
No. How do I do that without spoiling? Hopefully they're excited to learn even more about the LA food landscape.
Yeah. Would you say that there's potential that this platform could become credible for the first time?
No, I think that's a bridge too far. No. Possibly. Look, yeah, it'll be exciting. I'm excited for this, man. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I don't want to say anything else to spoil it, but it's going to be exciting.
I don't want to say too much to your listener, but all I can say is next Wednesday, tune into the LA Countdown social media channels. Listen to this podcast on Friday because we have a huge announcement coming. I can only say that for now, but it is like a mark your calendar type thing. I'm honestly very excited. I'm also very nervous, but we'll see how it goes. You know, you miss every shot you don't take.
#nervous. Let's go.
#nervous. Let's go. Well, on that cryptic note, I wanted to quickly pick your brain on anything good you've had recently in the eating dimension.
Yes, I actually, so Taco's 1986 Beverly division is not very far from me, and I was going by, and I was like, why not? Why not have some Taco's 1986? A spot you once famously identified as one of only 3 LA restaurants you would choose to eat at for the rest of your life if you had to choose.
That was perhaps a mistake. What did you think?
You know, fine. The Perón style on the flour tortilla with the beans, with their I forget what they call it, adobada or they do.
The pork one?
Yeah. Very good. Very solid taco.
Like
Happy with it.
6.5, 7?
I'll go 7. Yeah,
7.
I think a solid 7. I don't know about the other style, like their more basic tacos. The Vampiros I could do without generally, like personally, which I don't know how blasphemous that is. But no, just the Perón over there, good taco.
Did you get the mushroom?
No.
That is, to me, probably their best taco.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I just remember because my wife used to be vegetarian.
Yep.
And so that was the only one she could get. I probably never would have tried it had she not ordered it. And what they do is they cook the mushrooms down, like basically to the point where they have no more moisture, and they eat like meat, you know?
Yeah.
And they're hyper savory because of all of the umami in the mushroom.
That sounds good.
It's good. It's good.
Try that.
That is the
Shiitake,
reason.
you think?
I don't. That is a good question. It's been a while.
Okay.
And last time I went, I'm not sure my mushroom recognition skills were that on point.
You used to be vegan, right? No, vegetarian. Vegetarian.
I went through a vegan phase while I was training for a marathon once because I had recently read a book that said basically the plant-based diet is the key to unlocking everything, including like athletic supremacy.
Oh, when I asked you at the time, you said it was good for the planet. It's good to know it's really for purely selfish reasons.
Yeah, no.
You want to power. You want to power through plants.
It sounds lame when you say I'm doing it to run faster.
Yeah,
but I think it sounds a little more noble when you say I'm doing it to save the planet, right?
I thought it was a little lame, but I accepted it. Because my take always, I think we had the argument at the time. I was like, if you want to help the planet, it's not just only eating plant-based food, which is really important, but also supporting small-scale regenerative meat consumption too, right? Not industrial-scale meat, because you want those small farmers who are tending cattle in a healthy, climate-forward way to succeed and not be like or in a Tyson or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that argument actually plays for the climate purposes.
I think it plays well on a scale perspective, especially if like folks aren't actually going to give up eating meat.
Right.
But at the time, if you actually made that argument, we're talking like 2016. This was way ahead of its curve.
Yeah. I was way ahead of the curve. Yeah. I always am.
Well, as far as good eats for me, I finally went to Stir Crazy last week.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely adored it, man.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not enough like wine bars like that these days, because I feel like a lot of the wine bars that are out there, they kind of like go ultra light on the bites.
Right.
To the point where you can't really leave feeling like you had a satisfying meal.
Sure.
Whereas here, they give you sort of both options. You can definitely go the light bite route where it's just snacks, but then they have like a few super solid entrees too to really round out the meal in case you feel like making that your entire dinner. I think the standouts for me were that celery salad with the aged Gouda. I'm not sure if you had that.
Celery salad with aged Gouda? No, I don't think I did.
They said that was like their signature dish, like
interesting.
one of the only things that hasn't changed since day one on their menu, and it was really, really simple, but really well balanced, really good. And then they had these really light, ethereal ricotta gnocchi known as gnudi. Yes, they were ethereal. They could barely fit in your mouth because they were floating away off the fork.
Wow.
Yes, that's my description of them. They were absolutely fantastic. I hope those don't get taken off the menu because I will. You know what's cool too? They served them with like turnips. So in the actual plate, you couldn't really tell at first glance which ones were the gnocchi and which ones were the turnips.
Sure.
I absolutely loved that. That felt like a little Top Chef flex.
Yeah, kind of does. Kind of has that vibe. Yeah. No, great little spot. Not too far from me. I took a friend there about a month and a half ago. Very solid. Yeah, the wine bar scene. I hear the Angel talk about it a little bit, I think, right? And it's kind of like the hot new way to hang out, right? I feel like kind of funky like gastropubs used to be the spot, and then like
late 2000s.
Right, exactly. And then the dive bar kind of, well, quote unquote dive bar, but like elevated, I think, kind of vibe, like your Bar Bandini or whatever.
Yeah,
or even
right,
like
right,
a Little Joy, right?
Yeah.
Like on the corner bar spot. Now wine bars seem to be the new thing.
Yeah, I'm all for it, honestly. I think I'm in my wine bar era personally.
Yeah.
Bagel and wine bars. That's the next countdown, I think.
That's a good era.
Yeah.
That's a good era.
Yeah, it feels grown up.
Yeah.
Well, hey, speaking of recent eats, I wanted to double click on a meal that you and I had together on Saturday night, and that is dinner at the Michelin-starred restaurant helmed by Jordan Kahn, Meteora on Melrose. Saul, can you remind listeners why we did this?
Why did we do? We did it because one, we loved Vespertine, and then two, our friend Sammy reached out and he wanted to get dinner with us, and we were like, yay, we just went to Vespertine. That was fucking great. Let's check out Meteora. Then you fucked up like 4 different times on scheduling. We had to reschedule it for like 6 weeks later, and then poor Sammy got sick.
Yeah.
All part of your plan?
Yes, I just never wanted to see Sammy again, basically. And I just made sure to wait until he was sick. No, in all honesty, it was just crazy, and I kept having to push back, but we finally made it. And I don't know, you want to set the scene a little in terms of like what the vibe is when people walk into Meteora?
I've never been to Tulum, and my immediate thought was Tulum vibes, which is not what they're going for necessarily, but it was very fun. Like I remember even Emily, when she saw the video, like of you like panning through the restaurant, she was like, "Ooh, cool."
Oh, she liked it.
Yeah. I didn't think like we talked about Vespertine as being like on a spaceship, right? Like being in this like super like modernist, like almost the menu style, like Norwegian, like hardcore place. This was totally different. It was like warm, tons of plants.
Yeah.
Cool. Like they describe the vibe and the food as like kind of prehistoric, connecting you with nature, and the nature comes through, man.
Yeah. So it's funny because when I posted a video about it on Instagram in the best things I ate this week thing that I do every week.
Yeah.
I missed a trick because I had a line that was like, if Vespertine is a non-Elon Musk funded trip to the moon, then this is a trip to the heart of the Amazon. Right. But what I should have said is this is a non-Jeff Bezos funded trip to the Amazon. Amazon, Bezos.
Oh, that's a good
It's good.
I did not get it initially.
Yeah. It's really good when you have to explain it.
Yeah. That's right. I was like, Jeff Bezos doesn't go to the Amazon. Wait a minute.
Yes. He goes to the Amazon every day, dude. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that perfectly sums it up. I kind of like that there's a theme at both restaurants where one feels like sort of like intergalactic, otherworldly, and then this one feels very like about as worldly as you can get because it's literally like prehistoric Earth, right?
Yeah. Earthly.
It's very intentional, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. The concept as they explained to us else was, like that you're connecting, getting close to nature. Everything on the menu is kissed by fire, meaning that it's cooked over the open flame, and something on the plate is cooked over open flame, I believe.
My favorite part of that I think that made me a really obnoxious diner because every...
Oh my God, you were pretty obnoxious this dinner. Yeah, you were coming in a little hot.
I was.
You were asking our waiters about fucking tariffs and shit.
Well, yeah, because I had just come from Pizza City Fest where I had several tequila cocktails. Then I went to a birthday party where I had another tequila cocktail. Then I had to wait for your ass, so I posted up at Osteria Mozza and had a Negroni. Fantastic Negroni, by the way.
Right on time. I was like, damn, he's just slamming the drink in right before. No,
it wasn't actually your fault, but I still had to wait for you because of the way the day panned out.
Yeah.
But long story short, I was definitely a little lit, and then we opted to do the dynamic pairing, of course, which is actually the less alcoholic option than the wine pairing.
Yes, that's right. I mean, a mix of juices. One beer, cocktail, two cocktails maybe.
Couple cocktails, couple cocks, then some wine as well, of course.
Yeah, it was a great time.
So let's run down the food real quick. We started off with an amuse-bouche of salmon and pineapple. The first real course were day-boat scallops, which were accentuated with caramelized honey, heirloom banana, turnip, and roasted kelp. From there, we were served a bowl of grain known as Job's Tears with cachuca peppers, smoked almond, and charred onion. Then we got a grilled avocado with crispy sourdough, which we opted to get the caviar add-on, or I should say, you opted to get the caviar add-on.
I think this whole dish was an add-on actually. Like we could choose to get the avocado, and then add the caviar as well on top of the avocado.
And we just said yes, good improvisers. We said yes. Yes. And then we went on to I believe what was a gift, which was the prawn with hoa santa leaf and tortilla, which we kind of made into a little taco situation. We then went on to a beautiful little bowl of caramelized plantain dumplings in a broth comprising spinach, wild onion, and huitlacoche. We then got this little cigarillo thing, which was striped bass wrapped in a mustard leaf with mandarin quat and praline of smoked chilies on top.
Thicker than a cigarillo, I think.
It was like a
little fillet of what was it, striped bass.
But it was wrapped.
It was wrapped, wrapped in the style of a cigarillo.
It was like a fat cigarillo.
Yeah, that's right.
It was it was like a blunt, blunt version of a cigarillo. We then got another gift, I believe, which was the charred sweet potato with trout roe and what felt like a beurre blanc on top. And then finally, the main course, which was dry-aged duck for me, but of course you were in your splurgy add-on mood, so you got the California dairy cow version that was served with tropea onion, strawberries, and tamarind. Then there's dessert. We can talk about that later. But Saul, here in this back, what do you feel? What does it evoke?
It evokes a great memory of a really, really nice night out. A couple really special dishes, right? I think in my opinion, the plantain dumplings with huitlacoche broth was like a really special, very good balanced dish. The charred sweet potato, which they said was one of their kind of original menu hit items. They called it a gift, but I think they I don't know for sure. I think they give that to everybody.
Well, no, we kind of would rib them every time they said this is a gift from the kitchen. We're like, you give this to everybody, don't you? And they're like, yeah, we do.
Same with the amuse-bouche, I think, on that one. That to me was the one dish where I was like, Vespertine level of creativity.
The charred sweet potato.
The charred sweet potato, where it's like with the beurre blanc, but it's not. It's like it's not beurre blanc. It's like made with the different ingredients, which I can't remember off the top of my head. And like the mix of things that are in it, the flavor, the technique of charring the skin of the sweet potato so the inside it gets really essentially like caramelized.
Yeah.
And good. The outside is like charred in a wonderful like crispy, smoky.
It's like crunchy.
Way. Yeah, and then you have like the beurre blanc there too. Like that was a bite where I was like, who would have thought of this, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the food just really, really good and tasty, right? And really well balanced throughout. I will say the one thing that was interesting to me across. So again, I would highly recommend Meteora. Perfect for like Vespertine. We were like once a year, right? Because of the price point.
Well, what's the price point here? It's $150 for the 7-course tasting menu.
That's right.
I think when all was said and done, and we did the dynamic pairing, plus we're generous tippers, of course, and then we had a couple add-ons. I think we paid $400 a head.
I was closer to $330 for me, unless they overcharged you because you were being so annoying.
Jeez, I paid $400. So,
you paid $400?
Yeah, dude.
I feel like $340.
Oh, I think I know what I did wrong.
Oh.
I think I tipped even more. But that means they'll like me.
That's
they'll like
they
me even more. They did. Service was fantastic. Of course.
And so if you remember when we did Vespertine, it was about half of what we ended up with Vespertine with the pairing, and we did an addition or two, I think, at Vespertine as well. So so I see Meteora as awesome accessible date night or really a nice special occasion without
It's like anniversary.
Yeah, anniversary level. And then we saw a birthday party being celebrated, but it's like 7 dishes, so more accessible for more people. Cheap, like a little bit less cheap. I'm sorry, a little more cheap than Vespertine, and also not as long, right?
Yeah.
So it's really like a really good, like I would go to Meteora like once every 2 months, like I like something like that where it's like a more regular cool spot. Like it was a really really great experience. Not quite at the food level of a Vespertine, wasn't like quite that like mind blowing necessarily, but better. I asked you this question at dinner actually, like if Vespertine didn't exist, if we hadn't eaten there like 3 months ago, this would have been like an outstanding like next level experience relative to like everything we can get in the LA landscape. We just happen to have had Vespertine right there as well.
Well, I think that can cut both ways though, because yes, it absolutely could be that like if we hadn't had Vespertine, we would be like, this is the best damn meal we've had all year. Mm-hmm. However, I think because we had the context of Vespertine and we saw the ambition of what Chef Kahn and his team were doing there, like it kind of set the stage for what to expect at Meteora. And we were able to place every dish we had in that context. I wonder if we hadn't had that, if we might have like not gotten this. Like, you know, there's some dishes here, like for example, I also ended up loving those plantain dumplings.
Yeah.
But I could also see myself hating those plantain dumplings.
Really?
Well, think about it. They are literally crispy little dumplings, right? That are almost look like mini plantain arancini in a broth.
Yeah.
Which you kind of have to consume right away, otherwise they're going to get soggy because they're in a broth, right? I could have seen myself like being like, that's a weird choice.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, because I kind of know like that everything is so intentional and everything matters, I was like, oh no, you're supposed to eat this quickly. They want you to experience that bite, which is crispy, crunchy plantain with just a hint of like moisture, basically, imbued by whatever that broth was. I think it was like an oniony broth, like a really charred onion broth. So I think Vespertine actually helps you enjoy this as like even more, in my opinion.
Interesting. Yeah. I see the argument you're making.
We already bought into the cult of Jordan Kahn, basically.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I will also say I think it did. I was kind of questioning this at dinner, but I think it did come through that the slight difference in concepts between the two restaurants, right? If I really think about, because they were like, hey, Vespertine is like pushing into the future. In some ways, Meteora is taking you back to like the roots of humanity, right? When I was eating the meal, I'm like, I feel like some of these dishes could have been at either restaurant a little bit, but if I actually sat and thought about it, and I was like, no, I do think I see the commitment to kind of like I don't know. There's something about like the specific ingredients they were highlighting. A lot of fruit on this menu,
fruit,
right? Like the banana in the initial, in like the first dish with the scallop, and
plantain.
Like
there was
sweetness, the charred sweet potato itself, right? Like
strawberries with a duck.
Yeah, a lot of focus on, I think, produce.
Yeah.
Right, and even like grains. Like the Job's Tears was also really
that was a sick dish.
Which is a dish where, if I think about it, it actually wouldn't quite fit at Vespertine.
Yeah.
But it's a total Jordan Kahn dish with the layers of flavor, with like this unique ingredient, right, that like has been so intentionally sourced and prepared perfectly, but it fits better at Meteora. And I was like, I can see it. I see.
But in the same breath, it reminds me of that super colorful like spring salad with flowers that they have at Meteora.
A little bit, yeah. That was like the one. Yeah, that's right. That is a little bit. That's the one dish at Vespertine that would have been totally fit at Meteora.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That would have fit. There was a couple that would have fit. What was that dish where we heard the story and we were like, we would not necessarily hang with Jordan Kahn?
It was like the one where he had like meditated under this tree in Mexico.
Yes.
And, like, done this traditional ceremony. I think it was like one of the dishes that was like most personal to him.
Yes. And it was a great dish.
It was good.
But like we heard the story and we're like, we would have never been on that hike.
Yeah.
And like I feel it, but that's literally a story about like going to the jungle. And that feels like something that could have naturally fit at Meteora.
Yeah. You know? I can't wait to try Destroyer now. I know it's slightly different because lunch restaurant.
Yeah,
right? More
lunch.
so.
Yeah.
But I wanna do the Kahn 3. I wanna try all
the trilogy.
I will also say it seems like so we talked about how Vespertine, and Bill talked about this in his review, had kind of gone through a transformation after the initial like opening and concept was more challenging in everything from service to food.
Yeah.
Reopen and become more accessible, and like as we experienced and has Bill kind of described, overall just like a restaurant pushing the bounds of creativity while still being accessible and really fun and like homey ways almost.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely got that hominess at Meteora 2, and apparently based on the Infatuation's 4.8 review of Meteora.
Of Meteora?
Yes.
That's insane.
That's crazy, but But when I read that review, which I did while we were at the restaurant, because I was like, what happened here? They were describing an entirely different experience.
Right.
It's like a year or two old, that review now.
Yeah.
And there's an a la carte menu. Some of the dishes are different, entirely different.
Yeah.
Like, it was a fundamentally different experience. So I no shade to the Infatuation review because they're reviewing that particular experience. It's notable to me that the experience now at Meteora is so different than it was apparently then, in terms of what they experienced when they were reviewing it.
Well, what's funny about that is it's reminding me of when we got to Vespertine and we were greeted and taken up to the kitchen and we got to ask a couple questions. We asked, hey, where's Chef Kahn tonight? And they said, well, he's at Meteora because they're pushing for their second Michelin star.
Right.
And so that evolution into a tasting menu and into pushing
Sure.
the boundaries a little bit more makes sense. Now, having had Vespertine, which is a 2-star restaurant, having eaten at plenty of 1 Michelin star restaurants around the city, like Holbox, for example,
Yeah.
do you think that Meteora is at the 2-star level?
So I don't. This is hard to say. Well, we have plans, we have designs to go eat at a 3 Michelin star restaurant in the coming weeks.
Yeah. We can say it. Addison, we're coming your way, baby.
First weekend of June, can't wait. I think I need to see what the 3, because what I suspect is that Vespertine is operating close to 3-star level. And because I think Meteora is like a half step below Vespertine in terms of overall, like, again, it's doing something different. Everything from like the scope of the menu, the size of the length of the price, everything is like speaking to something else, right? So maybe a half step behind Vespertine in terms of the overall experience, but I wonder if Vespertine is in fact closer to 3 and Meteora is in fact closer to 2.
Yeah.
Right? And that'll be what I'll check out. I feels to me like Meteora, like is kind of right in between, where they seem to be a half step ahead of the 1-star Michelin star restaurants I've tried, and a half step behind the 2-star, which was Vespertine. I think is Quinto Neal 2-star as well?
Quinto Neal's 2 stars, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's like 1.5 stars to me right now, and would again make total sense to me if what we experienced at Vespertine was in fact like a next level as well, and Meteora is deserving of that jump. I hope they are. I hope they make that.
Next step, we got to go to Cato, I think. Like, we're long overdue because that's probably the, most 2-star experience in the city right now. Apart, like, because Vespertine does feel a step above 2-star to me. I feel like Cato is right there at 2. Yeah. And is a solid 2. You know what I mean? Like they're probably pushing for 3 as well at this point, but I think that they're just like indubitably a 2. Yeah. So I think we should that would be an interesting one to go to like be able to make that comparison.
We should book that because Cato, the person who pays at Cato is going to be based on our Champions League bet, and we're approaching
That's true.
The final pretty soon here.
The business end here.
Yeah. We should make a reservation for like June, July.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay, Cato, we're coming to you June, July. Let me finish on this question as far as Meteora goes. But where does Jordan Kahn rank in terms of LA's greatest chefs right now?
I can't answer that question yet.
Okay, can you answer it in terms of like percentile?
I mean, it's like I think it's top 1 percentile.
Top 1,
99th percentile, as I think how you're supposed to frame it. I think so. I filled out the Angel survey on what LA diners are looking for from restaurants right now, and I named Kahn as one of the chefs doing the most interesting food, along with a couple others. But we need to eat at Melisse, we need to eat at Somni, we need to go and get around. We got to go eat our friend Charbel Hayek's food.
I mean, I've had it.
Yeah. Well, I got to.
I can confidently say Charbel Hayek's food is fantastic. It's just different. It's not.
Yeah, it's not maybe not striving to be like what Vespertine is, but still, like there are a lot of chefs doing interesting things who are excellent in what they're trying to do. So I don't know. But Jordan Kahn is like his food and eating now at 2 different restaurants of his. Like it's really, really exciting that he's here.
That's what I was going to ask you, right? It's like the general perception is that LA has a dearth of these kinds of restaurants, like the really hyper fine dining Michelin stars, the kind of thing that a city like Lima, Peru has tons of,
right.
Or Mexico City even has tons of. New York City is obviously extremely blessed with as well.
Even the Bay.
Yeah, especially like if you expand that broader to like the Napa and the wine region, right? So LA, however, sort of gets slept on as a fine dining destination because for a long time there was like Providence, there was Melisse, and just that's pretty much it for a while. Spago, yeah, but Spago also wasn't quite the same. First of all, Spago was never quite the like ambitious tasting menu, right? I feel like it was just extremely well done, well crafted, high caliber food, right?
Yeah.
Is slightly different, I think. But like, I was wondering while I was reflecting back on this Meteora meal, like if we were people who lived in New York or Mexico City or a city that is really blessed with Michelin star restaurants where we're going to them all the time,
Yeah.
would we be as impressed with Meteora?
I think so I can say, having spent now quite a lot of time in Mexico City and eaten a lot of like as many of the Michelin starred restaurants as I can, like your M's and your even the ones that aren't recognized yet, like an Auna, right? Stuff like that. I think like a Meteora fits right in. Like it fits right in with that experience, like with the experience of like your Polanco restaurants and stuff like that. It would be an impressive addition to the landscape, but it would just fit in, right?
Yeah.
Vespertine would be like, this is like, here now.
This
right?
shits on most of the other
Meteora
things.
would be like fitting in. Meteora, I think, like I said, would be like not quite your quintonil or maybe Piol, like right around there, maybe like. But like, again, in an impossible to compare way. So to me, I think Meteora completely fits into that world, right? To that level. But Vespertine, I think, exceeds it.
Is on another level.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Look, we're going to keep things short today because we got a killer interview in part 2 coming with our Cafe Esca homies, Luke Reyes and Reilly Cox. So I suggest we skip right to Chef's Kiss Big Miss.
Let's do it, yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't even have to ask you if you're down. You're just down.
Well, the other item you put in here, I just didn't find that interesting.
Well, that's good because it's going to be probably now the central focus of another episode. So, yeah.
Not to say it doesn't look good. Do you want to? We can skip it entirely. But
we're going to skip it entirely. Look, we were supposed to talk about something today that I'm actually going to speak to the chef.
I'm excited about the topic and the chef and the restaurant and what's happening. I'm excited about that. I just didn't know what I was going to say about it.
Yeah, consider that a teaser, dear listener. We've got a huge chef interview coming up, and we're going to be talking about a big change at their restaurant and what it means. So get ready for that. But without further ado, here's Chef's Kiss Big Miss. Kathy Irway penned a piece for Taste titled The Big Squeeze on the Rise of Graza, the Squeeze Bottle Olive Oil, and the subsequent train of imitators into the squeeze bottle olive oil market. The piece explores the pros and cons of squeeze bottle olive oil, finding that it is a smart, user-friendly innovation for frequent cooks who go through oil quickly and value precision, but isn't ideal for long-term storage, flavor preservation, and environmental caution. Saul, where do you stand on squeeze bottle olive oil? Is it a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I think, I don't know if it's either necessarily. Like, I certainly fell for the marketing. We got some Graza drizzle oil at our spot. Yeah.
You do not.
Of course we do. Yeah, it's like
really embarrassing.
Emily loves it, uses it more than me. I think just having the squeeze bottle is helpful. It makes total sense that the plastic packaging would not keep the oil as well as the glass bottles you normally get. I actually fell for an Instagram ad and bought like a 4-pack of algae oil. It's called I forget what it's called, alga or something like that. Like
what is that for?
It's for cooking. It's like high heat oil, but it's made of algae apparently.
In a squeeze bottle.
No, it's like not in a squeeze bottle, but in like a cool like well branded bottle thing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about oils in general right now.
Dear listener, if you ever need to sell anything, just literally make it look cool and put an Instagram ad in front of Saul. He will buy it.
Great. We learned about vibe and marketing at restaurants last week. You're like, look, if it looks good, that's why it's on my feed.
So to you, it sounds like a chef's kiss. Like you're down for a little bit of Graza in your life.
Yeah, why not? As long as it's like, see, the thing is this too. I don't have high taste in olive oil. So if it is like accessible and easier to pour out and shit.
Yeah.
I used to, when I was at my old place, I got like little pour bottles, like squeeze bottles, pour my olive oil and would transfer it in. It's probably like just as good, but yeah, I think it's fine. I'm not mad. I'm good with this.
I highly recommend reading the piece because I think their cons for the Graza olive oil are quite compelling, honestly.
I fully believe them. I will say though, a huge part of it tue is, you have your finishing olive oil, your cooking olive oil. They actually have a spray oil now too, Graza, which I also have. At Emily's request, right? I bought that as well. But it's good to be like, oh yeah, this is the high heat oil, and this is the drizzle oil.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know, after my conversations with Cordo olive oil folks and sort of like recognizing the quality of olive oil and all that can basically spoil them, I feel like I've become a purist in terms of how
It's probably the way to go.
I mean, it's just like, especially for people who cook often, it's like olive oil is probably one of the most important ingredients you have in your pantry, right? So like, that is one thing that I would never skimp on. I'd sooner skimp on, I'd sooner get everything else at Trader Joe's.
Right, wow.
To your chagrin.
Yeah.
and use proper olive oil.
I think that's probably the right call. Look, for me, I'd say no problem, no problemo. But
that's actually his nickname, dear listener. No problem solved. All right, on to the next one. Carême is a new Apple TV Plus series based on the life of a 19th century society chef who is credited as the founder of French gastronomy and with popularizing, by the way, the tall chef hat. The New York Times intimated that it is a cross between The Bear and Bridgerton. Saul, does this show sound like a chef's kiss or a big miss?
So, an Apple TV show in French, I believe,
yes,
subtitled, feature a period piece. Do I think the show's gonna work? I don't know. I feel like this is not gonna hit, right? Maybe got approved, right? Got like green lit when The Bear was popping off, and they're like, Apple TV's like, oh, we need our version of the chef show. I hope it does well because I like food TV. We have not done enough food TV conversation.
I know. That's
right?
on you.
It kind of is, I guess. Well, we need it. There was that Netflix show about like with Ed Lee on it with like 100 cooks.
We also haven't really touched on the new Chef's Table Legends, which
Chef's Table's Legend. Yes, Chef is out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done Top Chef. That's our bag. But like, we need to have a little episode
diversify
about food TV. Yeah.
Maybe we should do an episode on the landscape right now or something.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a recap show of Carême would probably get one French listener, and that's it.
Yeah. Who's offended by our lack of fluency and bad accents.
I sent you the trailer because I thought it actually looked kind of good.
I actually didn't watch the trailer.
Oh no.
But I was like, "What is this? What?" but still, like the log line. Look, they're clearly targeting a certain kind of viewer to say it's between The Bear and Bridgerton. But also, how much overlap is there actually between those audiences? You think?
I mean, people horny for Jeremy Allen White and people horny for period pieces.
So, but I guess people. Sure, right. Is there people horny for Jeremy Allen White because that will also be into the show because it's another kind of chef?
100%, I think so. I think it's just like the problematic chef is a character people are horny for.
Right.
Plus, like sex-forward period pieces, people are horny for too.
Is there a lot of sex in this?
Oh yeah, it looks. The trailer was steamy.
Oh, that's right. It was also in the log line, right?
Yeah.
I remember this. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I think it'll be a small audience, unfortunately, for this one, but we should do a recap because I do think there's a little bit of interesting stuff happening.
Yeah.
In the TV
Yeah. I didn't know that this was the father of French gastronomy, so I learned something right there.
Hey,
Carême,
cool.
baby.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Ear's Melissa McCart reports that Texas is moving closer to officially renaming the New York Strip. There's a Texas bill up for debate next week that would direct the state's Department of Agriculture to call it not a New York Strip, but a Texas Strip. Saul, does this Gulf of America-esque foray into the world of beef sound like a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I don't know. Why does this matter? Why? This sounds like this is silly. I mean, good for Texas. Yeah, because they're
Stick
mad
it to
because
the
the
libs.
steak comes from Texas, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where the cattle farmers actually are.
Yeah.
So why is it a New York steak, right? New York strip steak. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. If the libs were taking credit for this podcast, I'd be pissed too, you know?
If the libs what?
Took credit for something that was mine, right?
Okay, yeah.
I'd be pissed.
I suppose. I don't know if it follows the same way, but I see what you're saying. Look, hey, branding is the name of the game.
Yeah.
I wonder if this will spike the sale of that kind of steak though in Texas.
In Texas, I'm sure it'll be like the national food.
Maybe even beyond Texas, maybe other southern states also.
Oh yeah.
Be like,
any state that has any bone to pick with New York, even.
Sure,
I think.
that's most states.
Yeah. Honestly, I could even see like crazy Lakers fans or like crazy Dodger fans if like there's beef with like the Yankees and stuff, like just going all in on Texas Strip, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is we don't really care.
Yeah.
Final one for you. The owner of Dough Drop Pizza, a pizza pop-up that operates in what I think is the Valley, has made a nuisance of himself by constantly commenting on people's pizza posts. Say no to enriched flour. He commented this on my most recent pizza post, but he's been doing it for a long time, not just on my videos, but on a lot of different pizza videos, getting into spats with creators and pizza shop operators alike. So, is implicitly shading other businesses to promote your own a chef's kiss or a big miss?
Well, I don't actually have a problem with that concept of shading other businesses. I think that's totally fine. Businesses do that in marketing campaigns all the time. To me, it's like say no to enriched flour is kind of like say no to racism. The UEFA campaign, right, to like reduce racism in soccer, which really just doesn't work. No one's going like, hey buddy, come in Sally way. You want some enriched flour? got some enriched flour for you, bro. Kind of like with racism, right? Like no one's like selling race. I mean, I guess people are like kind of conceptually, which is a whole other conversation. But like the say no to enriched flour, it's not good. It doesn't sell me. I'm like, why?
No.
Why am I mad at it?
Honestly, your pizza with non-enriched flour doesn't sound any more delicious than other pizzas.
That was gonna be my next question. Is it better? Like,
well, I kind of went back and forth with him in the comments, as I tend to do.
I saw this. I was like, what's going on here?
Well,
actually,
dude,
I took a screenshot and I was like, I was gonna send it to you and say, who is this guy? But I forgot to send it.
Well, I sent this to like friend of the pod, Turkel, right? Apparently, this guy has blocked Turkel because there was a similar back and forth, and Turkel brought too much heat, apparently.
Oh wow!
Right? And
classic Turkel, man.
Classic Turkel, but. I don't blame him because this guy has literally like polluted every single one of my pizza posts with this say no to enriched flours, oftentimes directing that shade at specific pizzerias, right? And to me, this is why I have a problem with it. I agree with you. Like sometimes there's a tasteful way to shade other businesses to promote your own product, right? Like we do see it all the time. Like I think was it Applebee's had like a commercial recently showing a Big Mac and showing how much beef they have on their burgers versus McDonald's.
Yeah. Nike and Adidas do this shit and stuff like that.
That all makes sense, right? But as far as this one goes, pizza in LA, and this was something that was incredibly clear from Pizza City Fest this past weekend, it's a community. Like pizza shop owners, they support each other. Like it's not a zero-sum game, the pizza game here. I think people understand that there's enough customers who want pizza here to go around, and they're oftentimes supporting each other. They're bigging each other up. They're going to each other's pizza shops. They're making videos about other people's pizza shops. For example, Steve Dolinsky told the story on the podcast last week, but like one pizza maker didn't have staff to come work Pizza City Fest, and another pizza shop stepped up and gave them staff to like work at the Pizza City Fest, right? Yeah. Like that's kind of the ethos of LA pizza. And honestly, in a lot of ways, the ethos of LA restaurants. So this guy just coming in and like, it just is so antithetical to it that's why I think it's a big miss for me.
I see. Yeah. As like a third party observer, I'm just like, I don't even register that throwing shade at other spots.
Right.
I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, for all the pizza heads out there, if you want to go try it and you want to say no to enriched flour, then Dough Drop is your place. Before we get to Luke and Reilly, you got a shitty Yelp review this week?
I'm sure I do, but classic me, can't think of what it would be. Nothing too major. No.
I got a good one.
Yeah.
So I went to dinner at our good friend Abdo's house last night.
Oh yeah.
And he just moved into a beautiful new spot. I won't dox him, but it's deep valley. And it was going to take me approximately 40 minutes from my home to get there. My wife has been really into embroidering recently, and she embroidered his son a beautiful little sweater that says Habibi on it.
Nice.
Gorgeous little sweater. I haven't seen Abdo in a while, so my wife has been eager for me to bring the sweater to Abdo, right? Yeah. And she said, whatever happens tonight, do not forget the sweater.
Yeah.
So I think you know where this is going. I get in the car. I'm happy-go-lucky. I've just gone for a run. I'm about to see my friend I haven't seen in a while. I'm excited to see his new house. I get to Burbank, and I realize I forgot the fucking sweater at home.
Yeah.
At this point, guess what I do? I am not going to face the wrath of my wife.
Yeah.
I turn around from Burbank.
Okay, I did not see this coming.
Yeah. I turn around from Burbank. I go get the sweater, and then I arrive 45 minutes late to Abdo's house.
Yeah.
But it was worth it because this morning we woke up to a beautiful picture in a shared text thread of Abdo's son wearing the sweater. And my wife, I didn't tell her about this situation.
Wait, really?
All she knows is that he got the sweater, and that's what matters.
Wow. Well, yeah. I guess this is actually sort of, this is kind of dumb, but I mean, appreciate commitment. You can mail things. You know that, right? Like you can mail things to other people.
What are you can't mail. I mean, you can, but it would be a psychopath move to mail something to someone in the same city.
I don't know. I would totally mail things to you.
What would you mail to me?
I don't know. Didn't I mail you? I mailed you something recently, or ordered you something, right?
Yeah, ordering someone something is different.
I understand slightly different, but like you can mail. He's Deep Valley, bro.
That's like a different state. Yeah. Fair. I should have done that, but I'm
gonna give you 4 stars. This is good behavior.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, this is commitment.
It's
right?
good.
I mean, sure you made Abdo wait up a little bit, but like you committed.
I did.
Fixing the thing.
Yeah, I felt like I was I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger in that movie where he has to get his kid like the Christmas gift and he goes through like crazy lengths to do it, right?
Yeah.
I felt like that, but for me, it was just making sure my wife didn't kill me.
Yeah. That's it. It was self-preservation.
Self-preservation. Yeah. Also, I knew it was going to make her happy. There was a little bit of altruism there.
Yeah. No. This is a good husband story. I mean, you're a little irresponsible.
Yeah.
Right? A little dumb, but hey, we all forget things at times.
Fair.
4 stars, baby. Maybe our highest ever rating on Shitty.
Pretty good. All right, Saul. Well, hey, thanks for making the time for us. I think it's time for us to go get some Frontera tacos.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, I owe you. This is lunch. This is the lunch one.
This
right?
is technically lunch. But it's going to be dinner. Based on the time of day it is.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we'll be back right after the break with Luke Reyes and Reilly Cox. But in the meantime, just wanted to say, you're the prize, baby.
Don't forget, babe. You're the prize.
Dear listener, I made a deal with my wife. She let me start a food podcast and eat ungodly amounts of noodles, pizza, sandwiches, and more under 2 conditions. One is that I never utter her name. The other is that I find ways to be healthy outside of my work in food. Being the fantastic partner I am, I found a few ways to up my health game. I exercise almost every day, I try to sneak in salads for lunch whenever I can, and I only ever snack on healthy foods. The macadamia nut has become an essential part of my daily routine with the best omega-6 to 3 ratios in the nut game, 8 times better than pistachios and 20 times better than cashews. At houseofmacadamias.com, they've got a bunch of different macadamia products that you can enjoy, like savory and sweet snack packs and chocolate-covered snack bars. One of the problems with macadamias I've found is that they can be expensive, but I'm solving this for you, dear listener, because as of today, all you've got to do is head to houseofmacadamias.com and use code LAFOOD to get a 10% discount on a healthy snack that also happens to be delicious. So what are you waiting for? Head to www.houseofmacadamias.com/discount/LAFood and go nuts. Welcome back to the LA Food Podcast for the 3rd time, but technically this is episode 4 of Opening Cafe Esca. It is the masterminds behind this operation. I'm talking about Reilly Cox and Luke Reyes. Luke, Reilly, how you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Mastermind is a nice compliment. I'll take it.
Yeah, masterminds, accidental masterminds, whatever you want. We're back in the space today. It looks a little different from last time I was here. Reilly, since this is primarily an audio medium, will you sort of give an update on where things stand?
Yeah, I mean, I think last time you were here, there was a bunch of dirt on the ground and holes in the ground. Now we have it paved up, and we're starting to put the walls up. Not fully there, but it's kind of in its route. I mean, we just had the inspection for, was it plumbing?
Inspection for pretty much everything. Yeah, we've been all passing all our inspections, which is great. I mean, there's been a lot of delays, obviously, with the fires and getting permitting done, but we finally passed everything. If you can hear in the background, there's a little bit of banging. That's our last electrical, and then we're ready to put the walls up. But we now have framing, we've got AC, we've got hoods installed, we've got Chef Reilly's wine room that is upstairs. So again, it's mainly audio, but there's a ladder that pulls down, and we have a fully temperature controlled wine cellar attic that we built and permitted. So it's a full mezzanine that's built just for Chef Rye.
Your kingdom.
My kingdom.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is just going to be a cot of her napping up there.
I think every restaurant could probably use a cot at some point.
Doesn't fit in the walk-in.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up the fires, Luke. I'm curious, obviously, how have the fires impacted your guys' opening schedule?
I mean, from a personal standpoint with the restaurant, like our family were affected by it. We didn't, lose anything, but we had to, evacuate our house, which obviously delayed the restaurants and stuff. A few of our, our partner in the restaurant, the developer, he lost his house. So there's been a lot of, there's been, our both of our partners, the brothers lost their house. So there's been a lot of, quite literal impact on the ground here. And then from the building and permitting side, it's obviously there's been a huge shift with the wave of people trying to, get stuff done. So there's been a little pushback, but, that's to be expected. And I think, we're just fucking head first.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, I think it just had temporarily like suspended everything because I think
Yeah.
at that moment we both had to evacuate. Your brain wasn't really, we weren't really coming down to downtown Los Angeles to like work on this project. It was
Yeah.
more so the immediacy of like focusing on home and community and head above water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like everybody kind of went into that mode, right? It was like,
Yeah.
reminded me of COVID in that sense, when everybody sort of just like put everything on pause and focused on helping out, giving back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like helping out, and really at the end of the day, it's a fucking restaurant and we're making food, which it matters to us. But like when that happened, the same thing with the COVID situation, like you got to kind of zoom out and focus on family and focus on like connecting with loved ones and being sure if we were safe, whatever that was, like that's what's important. And this shit can fucking be delayed 10 months. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. I think that's a good ethos, and really speaks to sort of like the hospitable nature that goes into running and operating a restaurant, sort of how that translates to other things in life. Look, speaking of food, though, we're here to talk about the food. Because today...
And the drink.
And the drink, of course.
Hopefully.
We've talked about, in the first episode, we talked about the overall concept, how you guys even got into this mess to start to begin with. We talked about the design, how it all came together, and we talked about how that design is being brought to life via construction. Today, we're going to get to what people are actually going to be enjoying in their mouths when they are in the space in a few months' time. Let's start big picture, okay? Who wants to take it? What is the overall food and beverage philosophy for Cafe Esca?
I mean, I can speak directly for like the food, and I think Ryan and I, one good thing about our working relationship from the beginning with building this is like the food and beverage aren't really like, it's not like the beverage complements the food. It's kind of symbiotic, and it's like, if anything, I'm making food that complements what the drink here.
Yeah.
It's very much beverage forward, but for me, this Cafe Esca is inspired by, my personal journey, but also my culinary journey. Starting cooking in an Italian-American restaurant was my first place as a line cook. I started as a server when I was going to Johnson Wales. I wanted to be a chef, but I was, too scared to do it. I was going to school for hospitality. And my junior year, I was, serving in the summer, and I started working part-time in a Sicilian restaurant as a line cook, and then I fucking dropped out of school because I was like, this is the best. And I worked in this like Italian-American place and thought that's what Italian food was. I mean, it is. It's Italian, chicken parm, veal parm, we were making all that stuff. And then actually being exposed to traveling to Italy and seeing how obviously what I thought was Italian food was so different, and the simplicity and the regional difference between city to city food, and that to me is where the real love for it, even though I was trained in French cuisine. Cafe Esca is kind of the distillation of that, of like ingredient focused, fun, convivial, drink forward, and a party, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree with what Luke's saying, and I think, ultimately, and I'll say this a million times, is that I really believe in food and wine being in conversation with one another. I want it to like spark curiosity without intimidation, and I think there's like two sides of that. There's like getting your wine glass full to the very brim and like slugging it down among like fried foods, and then it's like the other side is like swirling your glass and decanting your wine and like really kind of like nourishing and understanding how the things meld. It's like, I think both aspects I want to exist here. The thing that's like casual and fresh and easy, and you don't have to think about it, because oftentimes after like a long day, I want to just like have something that I don't have to think about after like, thinking about things intentionally all day. The inverse, being able to like sit down and like relax and like really melt into something. If you want to like, exercise your brain in that way.
Yeah, for sure. So that's all good and well conceptually, right? But what does that actually mean like what does that actually look like when you put pen to paper and you start thinking about what you actually want to serve to people?
Chef,
I think that looks like, so, in actual menu form, it looks like aperitif. It looks like, bitter red drinks with sparkling wine and vermouths and bottles of white wine that feel very fresh, and bianco frizzante that like exist easy and also is priced well, where you could like order a bottle just to have with frito misto before you start a meal. And then it moves into something, a list that like that can do both, a list that can like be a little bit more detailed, and I think that's an important thing within wine, I think, and in food, is like you want to be able to like play in the restaurant a bit. Like there are some of my favorite places that exist. I can go and like act in casually and have a nice meal, and then the inverse is like, you know, flex out and stretch a little bit more, and like, you know, have a bottle of wine that I want to like engage with. So I think that means like, yeah, fresh wines, and then also wines that like can exist in something that you want to like think about a little bit more. Maybe that's like more nuanced, more detailed, producers who are a little bit more stylistic.
Yeah.
I think like, you know, wanting to particularly highlight Italian wines and also California wines, because most of our produce and food is going to be from California, and I think there are parts of California. It's like the thing that is food and wine together is also having California produce and having California wine alongside Italian wines that speak so true of their place in terroir.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I'm assuming when you're coming up with a list, right?
Yeah.
You probably have a number of producers in mind that you already want to work with.
Yeah.
It seems to me like it's a little bit chicken and the egg, right?
Yeah.
It's like, which comes first, the idea for the list, or actually the producers that you respect and admire?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if I would say that. I think it's interchangeable.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are producers that I really admire that I definitely want to have featured. One that comes to mind is this producer, Le Coste. It's Gianmarco and his wife Clementine, and they're on this Lago de Bolsena in Lazio. And I really adore their wines because I find him to be quite profound. He can do things that are like longer cellar-aged wines of these like, they still have like, they're on volcanic soil and there's this like tension of minerality in them, but then on the inverse he has these lines Pisacante, which is like Bianco Frizzante, and then he also has Litrozzo, which are these liter bottles that are like cheap, and that maybe would be something poured by the glass. And then they exist along things from like, you know, 2012 from him that are like extremely exquisite and like terroir rich Procanico. And so I think that's a producer that in my head I'm like, and I kind of wish I find I have so much respect for him, and I visited him 2 years ago and he's since come to LA, but I think he's a producer that like I really feel like there are certain places that are like missing on including his wines, because he kind of can do both. He can like exist in the world that's like a little bit more like au naturel, and then also very like gastronome and like like thoughtful, elegant wines.
I love that because it feels like it's not just you're thinking about, oh, I want to like select this wine because it checks this box on my list. It's almost like you have this excitement to share this producer's work with the world, and this is like your canvas to do so. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's always kind of been my relationship with wine. It's like these producers, or the producers that I find myself like particularly connected with, are people who are, it's like producer first. It's like, what's their style? I think they also represent the land that they're living in, or the place they're in. But I think the producers are farmers, and I want to support them and not necessarily like cherry pick particular cuvées. So there'll be, you know, maybe there will, in a restaurant, I think perhaps there's a little bit more cherry picking that goes on. But for instance, at a shop like Psychic, it's when people come in and try to bring wines, I'm very clear on what our buying is. It's like, I want to taste from a producer and I want to get to know them before like deciding whether or not we're going to bring them into the shop.
Yeah, that's cool.
Loosely doing that within the wine list here.
Yeah, and I guess it could operate similarly for food, right? Like how much, like when you're thinking about putting together a menu, how much of you is thinking, oh, this is what I can get here, and therefore that dictates what you put on the menu, versus I know I have to serve this XYZ food for people to walk away with the experience that is advertised?
Yeah.
Like what comes first when you're designing that menu?
I mean, I think that's a good point. It's like you're kind of thinking of both those things simultaneously, right? And like, I know the story and I know the experience that I hope people get when they leave and they experience the Cafe Esca, which is like, I want you to recollect maybe a time you spent on the beach. You know, I think we've kind of played with in you know, initially talking about this as like coastal Italian, right? Which can be a negative connotation when people think coastal Italian, right? Because there's such a fucking swing of restaurants.
Well, it's not even negative. It's just like, what does it even mean?
What does it mean, right? And but that's the thing, you know, when a concept idea is beaten to death of just like it's such a blanketed thing. And Ryan and I have talked about this. It's like not to name names, but there are like nightclubs that are coastal Italian, right?
Yeah.
That like it just means a bunch of people partying, which that is, you know, Amalfi Coast in fucking Positano that exists. And then there's a place like, you know, when Michael White was doing Maria, which is a coastal Italian as well, but in the highest version of fucking white linen. And so there's such a gamut that runs. And I think what we're looking at is like, I want to give the experience of like more northern coastal Italian, like Tuscany coast, Maremma, you know, like Sardinia, places that are closer to the mountains and like have that little balance where it's not as stuffy or as like a party scene. It's more about, you know, more relaxed and ingredient focused. And I think that's all to say, like when building the menu, I kind of start with the energy and I know like, okay, there are a couple things I have to have on this menu. Just because I know from a business standpoint, this thing's going to sell, and we have to have a pasta I want a pasta limone and a pasta al vongole, like that. You know, we're going to do a full pasta program in house. That initially I was kind of hesitated away from, but we kind of have to do those things, and that's because that's what draws the inspiration. Like I think of being on the water, right? But then working backwards, like I can make write a menu out and say like, oh, I'm going to put a tomato dish in. But if another fire happens, whatever happens, and we get pushed back 6 months, what's the point of me writing a menu? I think having the idea and the concept of like this going to be an ever-changing, always evolving restaurant with like ingredient day-to-day focused, like one day I might not be able to get anchovies, I'm going to use fucking sardines, but we're going to have a beautiful raw bar, and we're going to serve crudos, and we're going to serve, you know, fish grilled over wood. That's as long as the ethos is there, where it's like technique driven, classic, you know, referential to these dishes that are definitely, you know, it might not be literally an Italian dish that you might have had, but it's going to be something in our interpretation that we're excited to share. That to me is it's fluctuating. So what's the point of just writing down a menu? Right.
So you say you had some hesitations about having a pasta program. Was it about having a pasta program or about having those dishes specifically that you referenced?
It was definitely not about having those dishes. Listen, like, you know, working backwards on the economics of it, like it's hard to fucking, like I worked at Tasting Kitchen for years, and I think that we'd made, you know, a full 14 pastas every single day that we, you know, I know the labor and the product might not cost a lot, but you have to have a very talented person, you have to train them, you have to be on top of that. Then the cooking of it, you got 2 guys on the station, you need a pasta cooker. So the economics of like, what do I want to retrofit this fucking kitchen with? And what do I really, you know, unfortunately that's kind of, as the business owner, I can't just be like, oh yeah, we're going to put pizza oven, wood burning oven, I'm going to import it from Italy, and we're going to have 17 pastas. It's a X amount of square feet, and I need to figure out how to do that. I know I wanted to have those dishes on there, and then kind of eventually through talking to friends and other chefs and people who are like, listen, do you want to be a restaurant where people go to all the time? Like, I know you think it's great that you're going to serve oysters and frizzante and people are going to come every day, but that's not realistic. So like, and that's just, you know, the economic, that's what being a restaurant is. So we eventually, I was like, okay, I'm leaning in, and we're now doing the whole thing, and we're having, you know, a full pasta program. We're going to be doing 6 or 7 pastas. We're going to be doing not pizzas, but some, you know, pizzettes and things that are referential and but definitely seafood focused.
So you say you don't see much point in like crafting a full-on menu right now, right?
Because like literally, not to interrupt you, but like I have you know 17 notebooks of dishes, and my entire iPhone is filled with fucking screenshots and notes of like, oh, what about this, you know, tomatoes with buffalo mozzarella and caviar, you know. There are definitely ideas, but like for me to write April 25th, 2025, I'm going to have antipasti, secondi, you know. I think to me,
because realistically, how far are you from opening?
I mean, honestly, it's a day-to-day thing. I think realistically, everything could go great, and we could be open in July. Everything could, you know, an electrical thing could happen tomorrow, and we could be open in September. I think the latest is and the latest is late summer. The earliest is next fucking week. You know, it's a moving on. Probably not. You know, but I think that's where the thing is, a moving target, and we're running as fast as we can. I think, especially like you said, with the demand for like honest skilled laborers right now. Like
Yeah.
sometimes our guys, if we don't have them for a week, they get a gig because they're building an ADU XYZ, you know. And I think that's the thing that's tough. If people are getting skilled laborers, trades guys are getting money thrown at them, which amazing.
Yeah.
But like when we're like, hey, I need you to come back because we didn't pass an inspection, like get fucked. You know. So it's again and completely understandable. But I think all of those things compound to like it's a real restaurant.
Yeah. So you mentioned that notebook of like 17 pages and like, you know,
Much more, but yeah.
okay, probably like 117
Yeah.
pages. Like literally my anxiety is spiking just thinking about it because I'm someone who like very much needs to have a plan, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't work. I would just throw that into ChatGPT and be like, build a menu out of this shit. I can't think about it. How do you like take that and craft? Like, are you doing R&D on those dishes in the process? Or are you like, at what point does that actually become a reality?
I mean, and we've talked about like the creative and romantic side of things in a previous episode, but like the honest version of that is like I have severe ADHD, so it's like the crafting that notes helps me and notebooks help me organize those thoughts because like if not, when it came time to actually we're going to open next week, I'd be like, fuck, how do I make a menu?
Yeah.
Right. So I've got these ideas of dishes all the time, or like I'll see something, I'm like, oh, what a great idea, and I'm the amount of cookbooks, like literally yesterday I'm running through just like reading the Zuni cookbook and reading Cooking by Hand, and like just the amount of consumption. Like I love food, and I love, not even just Italian cuisine, just I'm consuming food stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So that helps me, like the notes and the notebooks help me organize those thoughts so that if you ask me, hey, you're gonna open tomorrow, without looking at market availability, I could tell you what's at the market and what I would do and build. Here's 16 dishes that'll make a beautiful menu that will represent us.
Yeah.
That to me actually calms the whole, inverse of that anxiety. It actually calms the like. I have the confidence of like cooking is the easy fucking part.
Yeah.
It's all the other shit. Like once the stove is in the kitchen, that's where I know what I can do.
So, Reilly, you like to mention the wine and food being conversation. We should get it printed on a T-shirt, honestly. It's a great slogan. But the fact that, the food is sort of in this amorphous state right now where there are a lot of ideas, but there's probably a couple set dishes, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make your job a little harder in terms of identifying things, or is it too early for that process anyways?
It's an interesting question. I don't think I see it as a level of difficulty because I also move better within something that's like amorphous.
Yeah.
And so I think
it really is the perfect working relationship here.
It's actually mind-blowing.
But I think it's like there is, I think there's like a basic philosophy to the wine list. And within that, there's play that exists.
Yeah.
And so whether it's like, we're in spring and we're having, artichokes and asparagus and fava, or it's winter and it's like a little more like rooted.
Yeah.
I think that like there are things that can be malleable to either occasion.
Yeah.
I think the basic principle is like, it's like a menu setup. It's like primi and seconde and digestif, and I think that's the structure, and then within that structure their play exists.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. Okay, so knowing that things are still coming together, I'm really interested in something you said, which is I know there are some dishes that are going to be money makers. How do you balance like when you're crafting a menu in terms of things that you know are going to be sellers versus things where you allow yourself to take some more swings?
I mean, you kind of got to play as chef owner, like as a chef. If this wasn't my money, I'd be like, oh, fucking, we're going to do what, go swing for the fences. But you got to play the hits, but like by still being like, this is very much me represented. This is a story of, my version of this food and my team's version, my chef's version, Reilly's version. But there are things that like, okay, you're going to sell pasta limone. You're going to sell, but we're going to make the most beautiful version of it. And we're going to get, the most gorgeous citrus and with Meyer lemons, beautiful pecorino. And I think that to me is like a non-negotiable. I think other things are like, sliced raw fish, lemon juice, beautiful olive oil, right?
Yeah.
Like those are hits, and we can do, much of that seems like it might be beat to fucking death in most places, but like, we're going to do a version of that references, like I said, the coast of Italy, that also represents very much California.
Yeah.
And like getting, yellow kiwis and botarga from Sicily and shaving it on top of, line-caught halibut that we get here in making it our own, but still being like, oh, I recognize this thing, right?
Yeah.
And you can play the hits while still feeling good about it. And from a peer standpoint, from a, like media standpoint, like I think to me is people are going to be like, oh, it's no matter what you do, people are going to give you shit.
Of course.
I think it's
my
like
job. That's my job to get
and honestly, but like it is what it is. And I think as I've matured as a chef and like being able to zoom out and be like, listen, I'm gonna do the things to make sure that I can keep my team employed, that I can build a place that somewhere like a Reilly we can get opportunities like this fucking stud to grow to it, like to build this business together. Like I don't give a shit if it's people have opinions and go to the next hot restaurant. Like I'm gonna make something that is gonna be a restaurant that grows, and we're gonna have things that are gonna sell. Hopefully.
Well, I was gonna say if it sells, like who gives a
fucking
shit? Right?
yeah. It's like, part. Do you want to be cool? Or do you want to have a pool?
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, just because obviously, like, we're seeing so many restaurant closures, and we obviously know that this is such a tough environment for restaurants. That's why I'm wondering, like, when you're thinking of your dishes and your menus and your wines, like, how much do actual costs come into play? Both costs of ingredients versus what you're going to have to sell them for, and then balancing that with what people are going to be willing to pay.
I mean, right? Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think for wine, it's like I believe that oftentimes in restaurants, wine is supposed to act as the thing that balances the offset of certain kitchen perishable goods, which I do think is very true.
It's nice to lean on the bar.
Yeah, it's nice to lean on the bar, which I think is true. But I think with anything, it's like there are things that you perhaps have a higher markup on, or things that you have a lower markup on because of like accessibility, or because of like you feeling passionate about something. And I think the same thing can happen for food. Like the cost of food is going to vary dish to dish. So like one dish that feels like too exorbitant to be, over $30, over $40, you have a lower margin on versus something that like is made out of chickpea flour and like
your pizzette probably have pretty good margins
exactly.
on
But
those.
then again, you have to factor in like labor, like the cost of labor is, and especially getting a good cook. It starts, California minimum wage has gone up, which is amazing, but again, that adds. Another level. Like we do pasta, it's flour, semolina, and water and eggs, but like now I've got to pay X, Y, and Z. So it definitely it's hard to pass that on to the guest and the client, to be like perception of value and be like, hey, here's what it is. But I think that's my job, right? And that's what if we do our job well, it's like, listen, we're going to charge what we need to charge, because in the past 2 years, it's not just today, tomorrow, like the restaurant industry is fucked. And, the costs of goods have gone up 38% in a year and a half, which is bonkers.
That's crazy.
But like, we're not going to wave the white flag. You know what I mean? It's like, we're going to do everything we can to make the best version of place, and hopefully it's profitable, and hopefully all of us can, open and be successful. But what else are we going to do?
Yeah. And I think too within that, there's like, so from like a beverage perspective, you have like, if we have a tap and we get kegs of wine, there's really incredible producers in California and in Europe who are doing it because it's easier on shipping cost. You get a larger volume in, you have a keg, it stays good for a very long time. And you can like pour your house wine in like a keg and charge, $35 for a pitcher or something.
That's great.
And so I think that's for somebody who like doesn't want to necessarily like, it's sitting back into the binary of somebody who really wants to like flourish and flex out and has like a little bit more capital to spend or wants to spend, and then somebody who wants to like operate in a little more meagerly but still have the experience. So like from a food and wine perspective, costs are like, we're trying to understand what that would look like, or the philosophy is there for that to be like executed. Yeah,
that makes sense. So what about like something like the tariffs? Sorry to put my Trump voice on there, but like 10%, across the board right now. How much does something like that factor into your like your decision making / your process?
Well, I think it got really scary for a minute there a couple
especially
weeks ago
wines,
for wine.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because he was threatening a 200% tariff and very like humorously and very Trumpy called like he's like the American champagne business is going to bloom, and obviously we should all know that
Like
there's
nobody's
no
ever
champagne.
seen.
Yeah, there's no champagne in America. It's a place in France.
Right.
Yeah.
I was seeing this too. Somebody was saying like they get cinnamon from Indonesia. It's like we don't need to fucking grow cinnamon here.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like we don't need to. We literally cannot make champagne here.
Yeah.
There's
And-
champagne in Illinois, isn't there? Like,
Well, no, I mean technically
Champagne
it
and
can't be
beers.
called champagne.
no,
Yeah.
no, but I was saying there's a place in Illinois called Champagne.
Oh yeah, there is,
Yeah.
but it's spelled differently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the GN.
They don't need to know.
Yeah, the phonetic spelling. It still sounds the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was really, really scary. And I think to a certain point, I feel like just in things in general for myself, I try not to be extremely reactive. I want
Yeah.
to like understand the situation and then start to take action that still feels proactive. And so, you know, that was a scary moment, but I wasn't trying to be reactive at Psychic and buy a bunch of wine and like hoard all this European stuff, because with him, you don't really know what's
Things
going
change,
on.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have a saying in Switzerland with the weather. It's like, you don't like it now, just wait 5 minutes. And that's kind of...
That's honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's where things are, right? That's
Yeah.
where the markets are, and so it's where, like, you know, the restaurant business is. It's like, hey, man, there's ups and downs, and one day it's one thing, and we're like, fuck, wine's going to be 200% tariff, and the next day we're like, oh, okay, we're cool. And I think that's going back to, like, being malleable and flexible with this whole thing is, who knows if olive oil is going to be X amount of dollars more because of a tariff in a month or now, but like the wonderful thing is California and Italy have a lot of a lot of crossover in ingredients. The tomatoes, there's olive oil, there's beautiful things here. So the majority of what we're doing is going to be sourcing stuff locally, and then really specialty items like a Botarga, like a beautiful fresh extra virgin olive oil, double O flour, some things like that, and we're going to be sourcing specially, but the majority of things are going to be from California.
Yeah.
So I think while still telling that story, the tough part is just getting, wine.
Yeah, and I think too within wine, it's like when it was 20%, there were importers that I was talking to that were like, the winemakers are going to give us a 10% discount because they still want us to buy in the volume, and we don't want to reduce the amount of volume we're buying from these people because they, expect they need to sell this.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, consume 5% and then of the import or of the tariff, and then we're going to add a 5% increase on the wine. So I think there's a lot of people really trying to minimize it, which is difficult because that's American businesses, and also like French and Italian and European producers who are somewhat absorbing some of that. And so I think people are still on this like in-between side of how to do it. But when I think about it, I also think that like, the way inflation has risen so drastically over the past 5 years, I think that this is like only going to continue that cycle of raising the cost of goods. And I think it's having California. I was just talking to a producer in California about, I think for a very long time, he thought that he had to make wines that were like of the types of wines he wanted to drink, which is like very detailed and special and long élevage, but that's a really hard business because you're selling wines for X amount of money a case, and not many people are able to buy quantity of that, and it's not able to sell and get out there. And now I think he's getting to a position in his time as a winemaker and like understanding the things he can make and make really well, and upscale those things, and then allow this other project to like, continue to flourish. So there's the two sides of it.
Well, it's kind of like what Luke was saying earlier in terms of like the safe hits versus the swings. And it's like when you are the owner operator of your business, yes, it would be nice to do the really sort of funky, weird wines that you want, but the truth is you got to be able to sell it. And it sounds like the same with coming up with a menu. I've heard that like a lot of restaurants right now, because of the economic conditions, are expected to take fewer swings in general.
I mean, I think that's the thing, right? We're talking about the immediate versions of the markets reacting and the tariffs and stuff, but like the overall economic situation in the country with inflation, with, as a business owner, like I'm opening a fine dining restaurant that's going to be serving seafood and wine, and which is, the markets and the country in general, like there's a lot of people with a lot less money. The markets were filled with, dollars that were, for the past few years, and now people are feeling it. So I obviously believe in this thing, but restaurants are already being a tough business. Now we're going into a possible recession, possibly we're in a recession, and, to have that anxiety on top of like, you know, we're opening the doors and want to make a beautiful thing, but it's still coupled with like, oh, do I really buy, you know, X thing and do I want to put, you know, Santa Barbara uni on the menu, whatever that thing is. So that is a constant, you know, we're kind of trying to navigate it, but it's very real. And it's not just me, it's every single restaurant in the city.
Yeah.
You know, I have a burger place I got to think about, you know, I'm serving grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I am serving the most expensive version of beef because I believe in it.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I'm like, well, if that guy's serving fucking dog meat, why can't I serve dog, you know?
Yeah.
But it's, how do you balance your, like, morals and what you believe in as a chef and as a owner, as someone who like, I want to keep the doors open, you know, and pay my staff.
It's tough. I mean, when you say that, it reminds me of like gas stations that are like across the street from each other and they just keep lowering the price on each
Honestly,
other.
man.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is, because at the end of the day, the consumer wants, en masse, they want the cheap version of a thing.
Yeah.
People want a 99-cent McDouble, right? And like, at least I do. But, you know, that's not realistic anymore. And that's, you know, to try and explain that to a customer or whatever that might be, it's very tough, and it's true. If people have less money, it's fucking expensive. But people need to eat, and hopefully that we can be a place that people come and eat.
So you said something, or used the phrase earlier, which I've heard more and more recently, and that's perception of value. Meaning, like,
sure.
Yeah. So I think that, like, the way I interpret that phrase is like, you know, I get to a restaurant, I won't name names, but I see a cacio pepe and it costs $34.
It's bonkers.
I go nuts, right? Because my perception of value there is I'm not getting any value. For others, though, they might see that and be like, oh, I wouldn't know how to make this at home. I see the people making the pasta in the laboratory in the back, $34, okay, I get it. But like, how do you, as a restaurateur, as restaurateurs, like think about infusing that perception of value into the food and wine you're serving?
You have to kind of balance, like I said, the same way like playing the hits. There are things you're going to take a little bit of a loss on because you know you're going to sell more of those things, right? You might have a 29% food cost that's going to be 31 with waste on a certain thing because you know, hey, I'm going to pump that fucking thing out, right? And then my steaks, I got to sell it. I can't cut because that's just what it is. I think you kind of got to be very strategic, but also people that are building these things, that are making a pasta in a laboratorio, or that are working a pizza station, that are doing, you know, you're shucking oysters. They need to be paid a living wage. We're going, you know, I grew up, and I know Chef Rye grew up in restaurants where like that wasn't a realistic thing. You would work 6 days a week, fucking paid for 3 days, and you know, I don't ever want that to be the business. If I have to close the fucking doors, I'd rather do that. I want to be able to pay people and have them have insurance, have possibility to grow, and you know, be able to have a family and things that, you know, weren't realistic in the hospitality industry for years. And I think that all comes with, you got to charge people for the thing. And hopefully my job, like I said, is like, we're gonna give the best version of that dish, right? We're gonna train our servers and train the cooks that are interacting over the raw bar, that are handing them that sliced fish, walking them through, oh, here's where this is sourced from. So that's where the guests will get it, right? They'll be able to say like, oh, okay, oh, that's fucking beautiful, right? I can see the open kitchen and see their guy back there cooking over wood and make, you know, and that's the perception of value, as opposed to like tray slides through a slotted window and you get a whatever on your table.
For sure. What about, so we've touched on producers during this conversation in terms of like getting some stuff from California, getting some stuff from Italy when it makes sense. How do you go about selecting producers? Like, are they, like, I get the perception from a lot of restaurateurs I've spoken with that relationships go a long way, that oftentimes like you just have a relationship with a certain producer from a previous life and you kind of are just like, oh, this is my bud.
Lovers.
We're just gonna
Met on Craigslist.
Yes. Just swiped right on this producer. Like, how do you go for when you're starting a new project? How do you go about selecting those producers? Do you have any sort of like process?
I mean, I think that there, well, I guess for like the beverage perspective, it's like there are many producers that I love and have so much admiration for. And oftentimes, you know, someone will come into the shop and be like, well, what wine's your favorite? And I'd be like, in, you know, true honesty, I'm a very moody drinker and it depends on how I'm feeling. And like, what is my mood right now? It's like this, and this.
Vodka.
And it's actually usually never vodka. But, you know, I think that there's like, that can be said to building off of Luke's food. What producers match the food that we're making?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like, I'm not going to have all of my favorite producers featured on the list because maybe some don't actually make sense with it.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's very producer oriented because that's who I have relationships with and have an experience with and like love to continue to invest in them and continue to like see how they grow and evolve, because I think there's something, you know, a winemaker once like kind of morbidly put it, but also kind of beautifully, that, you know, they only have 40 vintages in them and they have 10 vintages left, and you're like, well, that's awful to say. But you know, that's like a number, and each time there's a different try because it takes 1 year to produce a wine, and you learn something from that. And as climate change exists, every year I'm seeing something that like continues to like change or alter, or maybe it's the same and I like continue to love it. And so I think from that perspective, there will be a select number of producers that I want to work with that feel complementary to the food here, that I want to continue to invest in, if that answers the question.
That does make sense. It's your process, your journey. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen, Reilly and I share a very similar mentality on that, because like one thing that Reilly does, and she's not brought up with Psychic, she does the farmers market boxes. So like her going to the farmers market, when we first started talking about her being a beverage director, she's like, I go every Sunday, I started in COVID, and go to the farmers market and source it. And she has these connections with the food side of things, which again, it just embellishes into what we're doing as a collaborative project here. But I think our whole thing is building relationships that we, you know, prioritizing relationships we have with the farmers and sourcers, you know, fishermen from, and like, you know, Steph from Santa Barbara getting uni. I think we want to have products on the menu, California local, that people can connect to, that we can talk to them like, hey, this came from 20 miles away in Ventura, right? This is grown here. This is a beautiful thing, but it's telling you this story of this traditional dish. And then by, you know, spotting in things like, you know, anchovies from Italy and olive oil from Puglia and Amalfi anchovies. And I think being selective with what we're kind of, you know, splurging on, but focusing on the best version, whatever that thing is. And I think, you know, actually before we had this conversation today, we were talking about like, well, what is the idea of if we were to build a menu with specials? And we're like, well, if tomatoes are in season, we could have fucking 4 tomato dishes on the menu. And like, my thing is ingredient focused, right? Like, tomatoes are beautiful. I want to have no more than 3 ingredients, like salt, oil, citrus, you know, and like acid, whatever that thing is, and the beautiful tomato, however we cut it. And we could make 5 versions of that thing. And I think simplicity and ingredient focus. And I actually yesterday was listening to the new Dave Chang podcast, and he's talking about Magnus Nielsen opening like a version of this, and he's saying Magnus Nielsen, who like is fucking phenomenal 5-can chef, like should not be, he left the restaurant business, but now he's opening like a meat and 3 like cafe, like basically like, but it's his version of like simplicity, which is like, he was relating it to Chez Panisse, and he's talking about like, well, to do that, you have to have the best you can't go to, you know, to Cisco. You can't be getting your product, which makes it more expensive. Like, it definitely, it's sourcing heavy, but like at the end of the day, I can go fucking to the farmer's market, get you the best beautiful thing, you know, tomato, and put it on a plate and be comfortable with that. I don't have to alter it. And I think takes confidence, but it also takes money. And it takes, you know, so it's gonna cost more. It's gonna be, but it takes, you know, the relationships we've built and finding those things. And
I think it's like, you know, you have something like in California, there's so much diversity within our environment that also feels kind of akin in, you know, many other places, but also Italy, where there's like coastal and mountain. It's why our tomato season lasts so long. It's like, you know, February to October, and it's because in the desert tomatoes are showing up, and then you move more coastal, and that kind of stretches into like our hot summer. And so I think there are these things that, you know, we can get salty, buggy lettuce from Coleman Farms in Santa Barbara County that like is something probably akin to something grown along the coast of Italy. And they have a really incredible selection of chicories as well. And I think, you know, wanting
like mustard is flowering from them right now. Like beautiful stuff.
And I think, just continuing to wanting to kind of like work within that sphere and supporting those people. And, you know, it's a very interesting balancing act. And as the numbers get crunched, we'll like figure it out. But I think right now we're like, the philosophy is rooted, and then we figure out how does this happen.
It sounds like a beautiful puzzle in some ways, where you have to like piece together what things we get locally, where do we want to sort of splash out that cash to maybe like, bring in things from abroad.
Yeah.
What can we, I'm not saying you're going to source things from Cisco, but where could
Wait, like you fucking, but I think it was Jody Williams, the chef from Via Grotto, was talking about like, you can't source. I wish you could source every single thing. My olive oil would be, the most beautiful extra virgin olive oil, and every single ingredient. Like you have to. Again, as a business owner with a bottom line, you're like, you gotta pick and choose. Like, man, I can get fucking boxes of kosher salt from Cisco.
Yeah,
I'll get them from Cisco.
Yeah,
like that's not. But I'm not gonna get my tomatoes.
Yes,
from
You know. So that's the puzzle.
That's
it's
the
like,
puzzle,
where do I
for
figure
sure.
out where I'm pulling things from to make this economically viable?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna finish with in a bit with a question about. How do you think about having a viral dish? So start thinking about that for a moment. But before I get there,
that's all I think about.
Well, I want to like double click on the economics of it because I'm curious. Like when you're thinking about putting together the menu and thinking about like, a person when they come here in order to have a meal, they're gonna like pick and choose from this section of the menu and this section of the menu. They're gonna craft something. Are you thinking about like in order to make a profit off of a table, they need to order X amount?
For sure, yeah.
And so how do you do that?
I mean, that's from the business side of things. When we're doing the pro forma of like, hey, do I want to sign a lease? Do I want to take the space? That's the first thing you do, right? You're like, what is my GCA? What is the guest check average? How much money can I expect to make per guest, per seat, per turn, X amount of hours in a day, 365 days in a year, whatever that thing is. And that's kind of how you and that's all fucking made up.
Yeah.
But like
it's projections.
Projections. But like you have to get to as close and make sure that it's financially viable to do that thing, right?
Yeah.
If it's like, I wouldn't do a Rita's Deluxe in this space because I couldn't generate enough money per seat from that concept. But here we have wine, we have, so we're definitely constantly being like, okay, we need to turn the tables the X amount of times when we open. Okay, do we need to open 7 days a week? What does that look like? Do we have to bring in additional staff? What's the food? Should we get a full liquor license today? You know, that's always in the front of mind for sure.
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot in this conversation about how it all comes together. But going back to that question of virality, I think I heard Jen Harris say this or somebody like that was saying like, in order to make a restaurant successful, this was their theory, you need to have that dish that people keep coming back for. It's like that craveable, I don't know, Koufax, it's the breakfast burrito. Langer's obviously has the number 19. I don't know, Funky has the kasha pip or whatever. What is going to be the dish that people keep coming back here for?
It's a breakfast burrito. We have some things that are definitely, like I said, we talked about, they have to be on the menu. I don't really want to give too much away, but I think I want this to be a place where it's not about I'm going to go and get that same thing the French onion soup's on there every single week. There are going to be a couple things that are an iteration will always be here. You might fucking catch me if a pizzetta is selling crazy. That might be a thing on forever. But I want it to be a very small menu. And again, it's a small space, a tight crew, and managed for efficiency. But also, I want to be able to fluctuate with the markets, from the farmers markets to the actual markets, and people to get a good experience and a different experience every time they come in, right? And I think that's all to say, like, the menu will be constantly changing and evolving, and one that's a way for me to stay creative and feel engaged, and for the staff and getting input. I know cooks get bored if you're like, hey, here's the menu, I'll see you later. Yeah. And you're serving the same shit every single day. Again, I have a burger place, we do that stuff, and it's hard to retain people who want to grow. Yeah. But here at a place like Cafe Esca, we're like, hey, here's a case of tomatoes. Fucking go off. Yeah. Right? Like, let's honestly, like, let's create a thing together. Yeah. And it might suck, but guess what? We're going to figure it out, and we're going to make it the best version of the thing. That, to me, is a better version than, like, hey, I've always got the fucking pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, the viral burger.
Yeah, the viral burger. And, like, listen, man, I'm going to TikTok it up. I'm going to try and go viral, but I'd rather just, be a thing that's lasting and be present and here for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't actually, because you think about some of the restaurants that are successful these days, like, I don't know, Stir Crazy or Dunsmore. Like, I'm not thinking like, oh, they've got that one dish I need to go for.
Yeah, you're not going to Stir Crazy for the fucking cheese pull.
No,
you know what I mean?
No.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah,
you're
maybe.
going to,
The applause pull, maybe.
what's the Dunsmore? The chicken verde.
The pork
stew.
chili verde stew.
Or the pork chili verde.
Okay, that I do dream about.
And those
yeah.
tortillas, like. Yeah. That's a beautiful dish. But I think maybe we'll learn what, speaking of the morality.
100%.
It's democratic.
Yeah, it will
Yeah,
come.
it's not up to fucking us. You know, it could be the neon sign that says, like, when you're here, your family.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be that.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Last question for you. When people have come to Cafe Esca, they've sat down, they've had a meal, they've had a few glasses of wine, what do you want them walking away feeling?
I want them to, like, I mean, I think maybe it's like cliche, but I want them to feel satisfied. But the thing that I really want is for them to keep thinking about it. I don't know if it's like the present feeling now, but like, you know, there was, you know, times where you like sit down and you have a meal and like next thing you know, like 4 hours go by.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not like the best for like turning tables, but I think like the thing that I want is the feeling after, which is like the continued memory of something.
Yeah.
I think that's my answer.
Yeah, same answer.
I like that. Hey, to stay on people's minds is a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly it. Like, you know, going back to the trending or fucking viral thing is this industry is you're a hit today and you're gone tomorrow.
Yes.
I think to stay on people's minds is just a place. Hey, I got friends in town. I'm going to take them to Cafe Esca.
Yeah.
It's a Tuesday at 4 p.m. sunset. I want to have a glass of wine. Let's go to Cafe Esca.
Yeah.
I want people to come here and to be able to know that whatever it is, they're going to have a good, consistent, beautiful experience. It might be a different thing on the table.
Yeah.
It might be a different glass of wine. It might be a different, you know, plate of food. But it's going to be consistent. It's going to be beautiful. And it's going to be always evolving and improving.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am very hungry after this conversation. Even though we've talked about very few specific dishes, there's been enough references to anchovies and pasta limone where I'm going to have to do something reckless for lunch. Yeah. But Luke, Reilly, thank you for joining us. We'll see you for part 5.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to Father Saul for joining us, and of course to Luke Reyes and Reilly Cox for making the time for us. If you like what you heard here today, dear listener, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a rating, review. Seriously, it means the world to us. We'll be back next week with another epic episode, which will also include our big announcement that we teased on this episode. If you're looking for me in the meantime, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and even our website at the LA Countdown. That's TheLaCountdown. You can also find us on Instagram at LA Food Pod. That's LAFOODPOD.